Okay, you're now recording.
Thank you, Lori.
You're welcome.
The meeting's called to order. Let's do our roll call.
Laura Negro,
Here.
Philomena Kadat,
I'm here. Sorry about that.
Mike Berlin,
Here.
Doreen Hannanen,
Here.
Ron Stendor,
Here.
that would be everyone.
That's everybody. Approval of agenda. Everybody get to check through that. Did you have anything to add? Subtract? Argue about? Okay.
You know, on the boathouse, is this correctly on the? Oh, it's on public property. I'm sorry. Never mind.
It's okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda then?
I'll make that motion. This is Doreen.
I'll second.
Doreen's the first. Philomena's the second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next is our minutes. Everybody got to read through those? Any questions or corrections?
Public comments.
Oh, oops, sorry. Public comments? Anybody public-y? Anyone from the public have any comments? Anyone from the public having any comments?
It's not a legal requirement. You have to say it 3 times, by the way.
Well, sometimes I feel important doing the agenda this way.
Makes me feel good. I feel good.
There we go. Come on, it's the small pets. I'm locked in the house. Okay, no public comments. Now to the meeting minutes. Everybody get a chance to read through? Do I have a motion to accept them then?
Ron will make a motion to accept them.
Thank you, Ron.
Doreen, I will second that.
Okay, Ron first, Doreen second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Okay, those pass too. Next is our crowd control training and equipment.
Okay, this issue is was brought up by Mick, and also I think everybody else agrees the recent riots in Washington D.C. It brings the question up: is Ashland County prepared if there were riots here? Discussion around equipment and training needed for crowd control. And right now we don't have any recommendation or budgets set, and I'll hand that off to Mick for discussion.
One
Good
thing that.
evening, everyone.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
ahead.
Philomena. Go ahead.
Nope. I didn't realize you were on, Mick.
I'm here. Again, good evening, everybody. The crowd control issue and training and equipment, I can give it to you in 1 second. Zero, none. We have it, none. We have no training and we have no equipment. I never thought that, you know, in my career that we would have a call for a need for something like this in our world, or especially in Ashland County. But I never thought that the United States Capitol would ever have been taken over by extremists and vandalized and desecrated like it was. So you never know. And my job as the sheriff is to protect the citizens of the community and my officers. And with the potential for, you know, Enbridge protests, XL Energy doing the relining down in Mellon for the power lines, anything, any kind of protest. We're not really prepared to protect the community, the officers, or property at this point. I'm just kind of bringing it up to the Public Property and Law Enforcement Committee meeting at this time. Just put it on your radar. if something were to happen next week or tomorrow, we are very unprepared for this at this point. I plan on trying to get crowd control training for the deputies without equipment, without anything, to be able to at least help make them more prepared for it. But as far as safety equipment goes, we don't have any. It's expensive. But I guess having an officer injured or somebody else injured because we couldn't do the job properly could be even more expensive. So I just want to bring it to your attention at this point, knowing that this is something that's unfortunately in this day and age, you know, is something that we need to be prepared for and need to do. You know, I've talked to Clark about it, and you know, it's more or less, you know, we prepare for the worst and we pray for the best. And you know, we hope that by having good community relations with our community members, that you know, something like this would be able to be contained and we wouldn't have any problem. But historically, if you look at the different crowd control and the riots and the issues they had in other areas, it's not the local people that are doing the damages. It's people from outside the area, professional agitators that come in to do this. So, you know, I have faith in our community that they would do the right thing. I'm not so much faithful in having outsiders coming in from other states that might try to escalate situations. So that's what it's there for, discussion, just to put it on your radar. And what direction you'd like me to go?
Hey, Mick, this is Supervisor Stender.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any mutual aid agreements with any of the outlying police departments, say, that could come to your rescue if needed? I realize they're not around the corner, but do we have anything written up for that?
We have it's a state mutual aid agreements that we have with all law enforcement agencies. We have EPS, it's emergency police services that are available, but they'd be mobilized from places down south. And quite frankly, I would rather have my own people take care of our own problems as much as we can, rather than have outsiders come in that really don't care about our community or our people. And, you know, it's one of those things where they come in, they could do as much damage and more by the way things are treated. But yeah, Bayfield County, Ashland PD, I talked with the Chief Hagstrom. They aren't prepared either. They don't have any of the kind of equipment that would be needed. I know we did some crowd control training a couple, 3 years ago with the mining issues in the Pinocchio Range with Iron County, but most of the officers that we have on now haven't attended that training. So, but yes, to answer your simple question, yes, there is mutual aid, and they would come as they could. I mean, they asked for mutual aid down in Kenosha, and we were short-staffed. We weren't able to send anybody. And quite frankly, we didn't have the people that they were looking for, that the equipment and the stuff that they needed. So we weren't able to do it.
Okay,
Hey.
thank you.
This is Doreen. Could I ask a question to
Go
Mick?
ahead.
Yes. What type of special equipment is necessary for the crowd control?
You'll be looking at the basic thing that I took and looked at was a chest protector type thing with the arm pads, a helmet with a visor in the front, shin guards, elbow pads, and the plexiglass type shield. It's not ballistic proof, just to protect the person behind it from getting hit with rocks or bottles or whatever it might be, shield. The total cost from what I have to equip 25 of our officers or deputies, right around the $12,000–13,000 mark. But the thing of it is that a lot of the stuff's not available right now. It's all back ordered. So if we were to have an incident that were to take place next week, and they say, okay, go ahead and get the stuff, we wouldn't be ready. We wouldn't be able to get
Not
it. So,
available. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, some of it's available, but I mean, there's different, you know, we have different sized officers, and we have, you know, some of the other things were, you know, back ordered. But that's just going through, you know, that's the cheapest stuff, but I could find the least expensive type things, you know, very generic, very, but, you know, that's something that at least give the officer some type of protection.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And that doesn't include like protective masks for gas masks, for chemical munitions, for the filters. I mean, and we don't have any chemical munitions. You know, God, I hope we never have to use that kind of stuff. But if it were to have to happen, and other agencies came in, like Ron said, to mutual aid, and they had that type of equipment, our people wouldn't be able to be out on the line because we're not equipped for it. So we would have to be in some type of secondary staging area to assist with transport or whatever it might be.
So this is Supervisor Berlin, and yours just said saying that $12,000 to $13,000 just for the equipment, but that doesn't take into account the training that comes along with it. Yes.
That is correct, Mike. That's correct. The training can be put on through WITC. I'm not sure about the cost that we would have it. It's usually like an 8-hour session where you'd have somebody who's trained in crowd control, going through different formations, how to get online, what to do to protect yourself, how to make an arrest, effect an arrest if you have to by, you know, doing the least amount of exposure and injury to the personnel.
So then the training could be local then. Okay. So that cost would
definitely.
probably be minimal.
Yeah, they would come to us, and you know that would be you know, so we wouldn't have to pay for any kind of per diem or lodging expenses like that. They would have the expert, the trainer, come to our location. That's what they did over in Iron County. We sent our officers. I was over there myself for the Pinocchio Mountain mining issues.
Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. And here's the thing. My concern is that, you know, the intel's out there. We know that there's a possibility for this to happen. I'd be remiss in my duties if I didn't at least bring this up to the Public Property and Law Enforcement Committee to have your input on this. If you say, no, we don't think we're going to need this, that's fine. I'm on record saying that, you know, there's a potential out there. I've been in enough lawsuits so I can take the name off of this one.
Okay, this
Yeah.
is Doreen again. Could I?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay,
Okay,
I
Doreen,
do.
go ahead.
I do agree with Mick, especially after the riots that happened in Washington D.C. And then the news said, okay, they're going to hit state capitals possibly, and also county. And I think our county needs to be prepared. So I really think this is something that the committee needs to find some money in the budget wherever. And I know the budget is bad, but we have to protect our officers and our public.
Philomena, you had something?
Yeah, Nick, I really appreciate your presentation today. I you know, I'm wondering if there's a way that this can be worked into a comprehensive budget. You know, my concern is that you know, the main priorities, we're going to have to do prioritization with you know, the way the budget is shaking out this year. And, you know, obviously the main priorities are going to be keeping patrol covered and, you know, all those other regular duties that we have to take care of. But certainly if there's a way to work in some of this, this training and equipment, I think that's important. You know, I've also been following some of the analysis that's been done on, you know, on not only this Capitol protest or, you know, takeover that occurred. It really wasn't, it was much more than a protest. And also some of the Black Lives Matter protests that happened over the summer. And there's a really interesting discussion going on about the, you know, the usefulness of tear gas in these, you know, domestic protest situations, and how like, you know, oftentimes it's really not a great tool because there's blowback and it tends to agitate people more than make them disperse. And so, you know, I'd really like to see Ashland County take a different approach and, you know, certainly invest in training for personnel to diffuse situations as much as possible, and really avoid the use of chemical irritants, which are, you know, this is like, you know, chemical. These were developed for torture in World War II, or well, in World War I. You know, this was a tool of warfare, and really using it against our own people is something that I would like to see avoided.
I respect your opinion on that, Philomena, and I'm open to any suggestions that you have on the alternative. It sounds like you've done a lot of research on this. So what is the alternative course of action that can be implemented? That'd be great information to share with.
You know, I think you really talked about it, is training your staff, you know, getting good training for your staff, and training on, you know, certainly building on the good training that they already have related to working with people and diffusing situations, is probably going to be a lot more helpful than, you know, these chemical irritants, which end up like really making people more angry than anything else. So, you know, I'd really support some increased training in that area. You know, conflict resolution. That's what you guys do all day, right?
We do, and that's one of the things that we do very well with
Yeah.
our professional communication skills that we have, and not only with our communication skills, but with our building a community trust that we have by talking with members of the community when they're not involved with law enforcement matters. We try to be more involved with them and try to get their trust. And like I said, I really and truly, deep in my heart, don't feel that I'd have any issues with our local people in Ashland County or Bayfield County. I'm afraid of the people that come in that are looking for something to make the news, to make this happen. And it doesn't take a lot of people to have something happen. And even if the protesters use some type of a chemical agent to try to disrupt the crowd, to try to get chaos to working or something happening, you know, I agree with you. I don't like chemical agents. I've been exposed to that stuff a lot. I don't even carry OC anymore because my experience is I OC somebody, I gotta arrest them after that. I gotta go hands on, and I'm getting that secondary exposure, and I can hardly breathe or anything either. So, I mean, there's different ways to try to diffuse a situation. I agree, and that would be a last resort type of thing. And it's just like the firearm that I carry. I've been doing it for 44 years. Thank God I've never shot anybody, but it's there in case I need it. And it's something that if you don't have it, then it's too late if you need it, that type of thing. But I will definitely look into the training of our officers. I've got some other discussion later on in my report that I can share with you guys about what we're trying to do. But like I said, I just need to have this on your radar and to be thinking about this. And as things start to progress, or hopefully don't. I mean, we didn't have anybody at our courthouse on inauguration. We didn't have anybody on that weekend. That was an awesome thing to see. You know, I mean, that was great. I was nervous. I would go by it a few times, but you know, thank God we didn't have anything. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. I just want us to be prepared.
Yeah, and I'd like to echo what Mick said about a week before inauguration rolled around, because I was seeing chatter in different places about possibly courthouses being on the attack block, so to speak. And, you know, I just wanted to make sure that our people were safe and that our officers could be prepared. And this came, Mick had brought this up as an item for the agenda, after the 6th. So it was probably a few days before. I just kept thinking about, well, what if it happens to us? And we have to be prepared. I mean, I'd like to see some trainings for our county staff too, active shooter trainings, things like that, for inside our buildings, because we already know we haven't been able to even afford at this point that cool connection between the courthouse and the sheriff's department. So we need to prepare. Mick, I had sent you some of those grants from BJA and the JAG one, what is it? The Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program. That one does have money for equipment and vehicles. Do you think that might fall underneath there?
I don't know, quite frankly, Laura, I didn't even look at that. I forwarded it on to my chief
Okay.
deputy, my lieutenant, people that would
Yep.
be, ones doing that, Doug Jennings, that type of
Okay.
thing. So, but the one
Yeah.
last thing I could say is that if you remember after I never thought about it until after the U.S. Capitol, was takeover and that. And the
Yeah.
biggest thing that sounded like they were getting on the Capitol Police for is, you knew this was going to happen. Why weren't you more prepared?
Exactly.
Why was your response the way it was? Why weren't you prepared to protect, the congressmen and the senators and everybody that's in the Capitol and to protect that building? You had it. You had the training. You had the people. Why weren't you more prepared? And why didn't you do your job? I want to do my job.
Yeah.
Thank
Does
you,
anyone-
Mick. This is Doreen. Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you for your opinions there, and you are working on the force, and I'm glad that you are looking into what could possibly happen. I was home that day watching it on TV, and it was horrendous. It's like the police force in Washington, D.C. didn't know how to handle it. And you would think that they would be the top-notch police force in the nation, but it got out of control. And so I am all supporting you in finding funds for what you need to protect this county.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
So
this was-
I hear the consensus of the group, which is we should probably spend some time and at least some energy and time to research what we think is appropriate, then come back to the committee, or and then try to figure out what does that mean for the sheriff's budget this year. Would that be kind of a general consensus of what I'm hearing from the group?
That's what I was going to say.
Yes.
So Mick,
Yeah.
do you feel you have enough direction to research and come back?
Yes, sir, I do. Loud and clear.
Sounds good.
Okay, moving on. Again, Mick. It's the
Yes.
domestic violence funding shortfall.
Well, I was just brought this my attention by our county administrator last week or so, saying that we're short some funding for our domestic violence officer who works for Ashland County, Bayfield County, Red Cliff PD, Bad River, and the city of Ashland. I think he said it was $25,000 short, Clark, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah.
And
So,
as I said in my, and what I said in my email, then I copied it to Chairperson Negro, is that, this is too important of a position. It's one person. So, I mean, you can't really okay, I'll cut this or cut that. It's one person. And I tell you, Amy does so much more than just domestic violence. She's with sexual assault to children. She works hand in hand with DHS for, placement of children. She's got the car seat in her car where she's there. She works ICW. They will all work together to try to help with the victims and the families for counseling, for help, for assistance. And she helps all the officers in both counties for investigations to go help gather more information. It's unbelievable some of the information that she gets afterwards when she's talking with the victim. Strangulation and false imprisonment and the different things that happen that it's not brought out or not disclosed to the officer, but they talk to Amy about it, and she does an awesome job. So, it's money, and, sometimes, money's the root of all evil, I guess, but I mean, if we were to lose this position, even for a couple of months, to try and keep it, I think would be a problem. I do, however, think that we might have a solution to this. I haven't seen what my budget was for last year, but because I wasn't boarding anybody out, and I think I had like $138,000 in my budget for boarding inmates, and we didn't board them out because of COVID, I might have that money in my budget from last year to be able to do that. I'm not sure, Clark, if you've seen that or not yet, but hopefully we'll.
I haven't seen that, but in normal budgeting periods for government agencies, unless it's set up as a designated non-lapsing fund, any money not spent just goes back into the general fund.
Good, then we could take it out of the general fund then.
Well, and so in this case, if we can't get any information from Bad River, and I have reached out to Chairman Wiggins, and I've also reached out to their attorney, Eric, someone I think, and I haven't been able to get an answer from this. This is a compact which is in the packet, which basically has $100,000. The first $100,000 from the gaming either needs to go to the state, or they can basically put it towards local, a local issue. And what happens, they pay us $100,000, and then we basically give them back 75 that goes towards an approved program, such as Boys and Girls Clubs and other types of, social remediation issues. And then we spend the $25,000 with this domestic violence position. So I'm still waiting to hear back from the tribe if they intend, because they didn't pay it in 2020. I'm waiting to hear back if they will pay it in 2021. And if not, we would probably have to come back and do a budget amendment and basically get a budget amendment to basically move that money in order to fund it, do Mick's recommendation that this position is too vital to cut back to a 75% position.
Okay, and you haven't had anyone contact you back about anything yet, correct? Is that part of the
No, I had our administrative assistant Lori. She actually reached down to the state, to the Gaming Commission, and she had explained that these particular compacts that they have for that first $100,000, because they've been closed, is something that they did not expect the tribe to. They can't speak on behalf of the tribe, but the casino is closed. They basically don't have gaming money coming in, and therefore they're probably not obligated to pay this amount. But I'm trying to figure out, does that mean for the whole year? Does that mean if they open up in the summer? Does that mean we would get the $25,000 this summer? So I'm trying to get some information one way or the other concerning this. So I guess I could probably, in this case, we can wait until the next meeting, because maybe we'll have some more information on that. And if we don't have any information, then we'll just go for a budget amendment to change the budget to fund this position with $25,000 from the general fund.
Mick, I
would
believe
like
this.
to go ahead, Lori.
I believe the magic number from the state was 5 million that Bad River would have to reach before they'd be obligated to pay us.
Okay.
Okay. I can,
This is Commissioner Berlin here.
Yep.
Currently, I just listened to the last council meeting, and currently they're setting up workshops to open up the casino and what that's going to take. So I suspect that's going to happen here probably in the next 30 to 45 days, but that's only speculation from what I've heard on the council meeting here just last week. So I think that's going to be sooner than later. So, as for it being closed down all this summer, I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay. Philomena, you had something?
I can also follow up with my contacts about, where these things are at. Happy to do so. Obviously Amy's position is incredibly important, and she helps a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'd like to encourage, because the grants through Bureau of Justice, the COPS program does have money, and especially COVID emergency fund money for situations like this through the COPS program. And the tribe can also write and cooperate with us on those. Ended up the day after Mick or Clark had brought up the situation. The next day I was on a webinar with them and just put the whole situation out, what we've got going on, you know, and their budget and things. And they gave me the resources for that and said that there is COVID related funding, since, you know, the tribe would normally kick it in, except for, you know, COVID has stopped their piece. So we may be able to get some of that funding too. And on their list, there's probably only 20 municipalities or counties in the state that have actually applied for that. So I think we would be a really good spot to grab for that, and maybe possibly with some of our equipment issues. But it's like I said, I know every time I come up with these grant things, it kicks over onto somebody else has to write a grant too. So, you know, go gadget grant writers.
Laura, is there, and maybe Clark can help with this. How can Laura share that link?
I have them all in an email.
You have it in an email, and can we legally
send
like share that around without any kind of open meeting violation?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that was information that I was given on that webinar, is the stuff that I sent to Clark and Mick on that, and I will just send out the same information to you guys as the committee too, if you'd all like that.
Yeah, I would love to look at that. Great. And I'll you know, I can pass it around to Mick. It sounds like you're working with Doug Jennings on stuff, but I mean, he would be a good guy to have some communication about that, you know, that emergency fund.
Oh, definitely. Doug is a wealth of information. He knows a lot about those type of things.
Yeah, he does.
And every time I get any type of grant that's sent to me by like Laura, I forward it on to him for sure.
Yeah, good. Okay, I'll reach out to him as well.
Well, good. I appreciate the help. That's partly why we brought this up, which is, you know, we're smarter together. And, you know, I'm running into roadblocks, so I really appreciate everybody reaching out to try to, you know, keep this position here and you know, keep it running. So we will, we'll do a follow-up on this at the next meeting based on the resolutions that we found.
Excellent.
This is Mike again.
Oh, go ahead.
And I just want to echo what I've said and extended previous earlier on this year, is that I've given the the grant writer staff the courtesy to work with Ashland County, because it's only good that when we apply for, or the county applies for these monies, you have a multi jurisdictional, you got the county, you got the tribe. It carries more weight when it comes to someone looking at that application. Oh, we got 2 municipalities. We got a tribal municipality. We got a county municipality. These people are working together. Let's fund these people.
Exactly.
And that was my purpose and reason for extending the courtesy of our grant writer staff, because we can go further working together as opposed to trying to do this on our own. Thank you.
And
Go ahead,
Philomena, I
Philomena.
sent you that. Philomena, I sent you that link that Laura sent me already.
Oh, okay,
Awesome.
good. Thank you. You know, and the other thing I wanted to say is that, you know, instead of just looking for this $25,000 shortfall, you know, I think it could be a goal to look for as much funding for this position as possible, considering the county is also dealing with a significant budgetary shortfall related to decreased revenue. So, you know, decreased taxation revenue. So that's the only thing I wanted to add.
Okay. And if you have any questions on those, Philomena, just give me a buzz. Any more questions? Okay. Moving on, we have the boathouse lease, and that is Chris.
Yeah, Chris is actually in a city council meeting today. He's on the city council for Falls. And so I thought it was important for him to be at that meeting. In short, basically, we have a piece of property on Lake Superior, and here it is. It's right off Highway 2. We have a boat ramp there, along with some boat houses. And there's in your write-up, you'll see there's a boat club that we write a lease for $100 a year, and then in turn, basically subleases, I guess, to the people that have boat houses on this piece of property. We had brought this to the county board meeting on the 12th of January, and it was brought up to it was voted by the county board to come back with enhanced revenue for this piece of property. Given that, you'll see in the write-up, there is some possible language. The issue is, this is not a very clear issue in my mind, and maybe that's because I don't have the history working in Ashland County, which is, what committee weighs on something. So because this is a recreational asset, traditionally the Forest Committee has done the management of this and our other boat landing on Second Landing, which is, a few miles down farther on the reservation. But because this property, where the Public Property and Law Enforcement Committee is in charge of basically managing county property, assets, buildings, and leases, I also thought I would have, if there's any input that you have that you'd want to give to, let's say, the Forestry Committee. And because we're kind of working on this together, Josh and Chris and I have been working on this, trying to come up with ideas to try to enhance it. And we haven't done an awful lot of work on it yet because we haven't had time. But with that, basically, I guess I'm just looking for ideas. Some of the ideas that we came up with was just increasing the lease to the boat club, which in turn would increase the lease to the current leasees. Develop a list available for all citizens in Ashland County to sign a 15 or 25-year lease for a boathouse lot on this piece of property. Hold an online auction to award the highest bidder the right to have boathouses on Lake Superior. We could sell the property to the highest bidder. And then Chris had a note here, which it's kind of an unknown factor concerning modifications and sizes of boathouses. As you well know, shoreline ordinances and shoreline construction within the city here would play an effect if people were to try to put a bigger boathouse or something that's on the lake. And the restrictions for this obviously have to be that it has to have, water, has to be for boats or boats accessories. It just can't be a cabin down there. And so these are some of the issues which we basically have to work on. And we're just looking for this committee, which deals with public property, to give feedback to staff concerning where do you think we should go with this item?
Anyone
So
with thoughts?
I have a
ahead.
question on this, Clark. Who owns the boathouses themselves? Are they considered personal property of the, whoever is in charge of them? Or are they affixed to the land?
Well, I would say they don't pay property taxes because they're not really, they're meant to basically be like boat covers. I think the original purpose and the classification of a boathouse was you drive your boat in and it would cover your boat. And you can see them kind of morph over the years. And so some of these probably are truly boathouses and some of them probably don't have boats inside them, but maybe they store all their boating equipment in them. So these are owned by individuals. Josh is currently talking to the city to figure out, could more be put on here? The issue is, can you tear an old one back? Do you have to have the same size? So these are all kind of unknowns, but you can kind of see like these, these aren't in the water, but they probably put a boat in it. This is on the water and they can drive a boat in it.
So they're like slips, sort of, and they're like their own personal slip, right?
They're kind of like a slip. And then we have a boat ramp right here also that is open to the general public. And then there's there's our artesian well right here. This little house here is an artesian well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering if we can contact one of my suggestions would be for staff to contact marinas and figure out, how much they're charging folks to have a slip. Certainly, like, these aren't probably as high quality as some of the facilities that are available at the marina. So there would be a discount for that. But, to have your own personal slip for a period of 10, 20 years, depending on your relationship with a boathouse, I think is fairly valuable. And I think it would be worth $100, or, probably more than $100 a year. And then, the other item that I would be interested in knowing about is, what would be the value of, or, how much would we have to pay to hire some kind of service to, do the maintenance. And I would imagine, in the summertime, it's a lot of grass mowing over a, like every other week, or, certainly once a month period of time. And, I don't know are they grading that road at all? What other kind of maintenance would be involved in maintaining that facility?
Yeah, so right now it's my understanding that the boat club, they do the maintenance of the property concerning mowing, and, the road is nothing big. I don't think the lease has the responsibility of the boat club to dredge. You can kind of see some shallowness along here. Like probably the reason these boathouses here probably they're not on the lake. They basically are just pulling in lightweight fishing boats inside, because you can see it's pretty shallow right there. So at some point in the future, you're probably going to have a county bill to dredge this. And you can see this little seawall here probably at some point would have to have rock put into it. So yeah, this is but part of this is a benefit for the boat ramp for citizens in town too. So citizens in town can come down and put their boat in here and come in here all the way out to Second Landing, which we don't charge for either, or they could use the city landing, which they're supposed to pay something for.
They also snow plowed in the wintertime.
The boat club does?
I'm not sure who does, but I know it is plowed.
Okay.
This is Supervisor Hannanen. Can I ask a question pretty much hinged on Philomena's conversation?
Go ahead.
Okay. She asked the question that, do these boathouse owners pay any personal property taxes? That question was not answered.
No, it's my understanding they do not. I mean, these are like if you had a dock on Lake Superior, you don't pay a property tax on the dock. Lori, is that correct?
That I don't know. I would assume they would be somewhat like the hangars at the airport, where they would pay personal property tax, but it would not be very much.
Okay, so we don't really know, I guess. So.
And so these people this is Doreen again, these people have front shore property and they're getting it for basically nothing.
It's a good deal, I'll tell you that much.
Well, yeah.
It is definitely a good deal.
In my past experiences as a clerk down in the village of Fairchild, there were campgrounds there where people they put in their campers, and if they put a deck on, they would charge personal property tax. That's where Ashland County is losing money on this property down there on the lakefront there.
Yeah, and so one of the issues is, that kind of brings to my mind is, I live over, my second house over is in Stillwater on the St. Croix River, and there are spots where they have a city lot, basically city marina, and any resident can put their name on it. It might take you 25 years to come up to get that spot, but there's boat houses, and they basically you know, if you put one in the boathouse and you get a 20, you basically have it till you die. And then basically your kids do not inherit it. It basically moves to the next person on the list. You know, so, you know, this is owned by all 15,000 of us here in the county. And the question is, does it benefit all 15,000 of us, or what opportunity do people have to have basically a boathouse on the lake shore? And so one of the things going forward is trying to find out how many more could you put on here? And then the question is, you know, would we get in, you know, would the county be involved with the direct management of it? Would we have basically the forest department manage this property as far as maintenance and then managing the leases, instead of having the boat club do that, and then developing individual leases with people on property? You get 25 feet here, you get 15 feet here, those kind of things. That would be a whole different thing to manage. But the question is, what would that be worth, and what would be people be willing to pay to have a boathouse on the lake?
Yeah, and I can see that. I mean, these aren't, you know, big, huge cruisers and fancy boats and stuff. These are probably people that just like to go fishing and things. And I see that as a really good spot for just a regular Joe to have a place to put his boat and, you know, whether take the family out or whatever. But I do see an opportunity here, like you said, to create a list to see how many spots we would have on there. Because we, like you said, will be on the hook for making sure that's clear, because we do own it. I do like, I know this last time the forestry committee was going through this, they were going to do what, a 20-year lease. I'd like to see the prices on the lease evaluated a little more often than every 20 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, because
And
this-
$150, this is Doreen again, $150 a year is cheap.
yeah,
That's cheap.
and it is just a small place, and it's you know, like I said, it just seems like a good access point for the public, you know, a regular Joe to have a place to put his boat and stuff, and not have to have a big, huge fancy boat like over in the marinas and things.
Yeah.
So having everybody have that access to it along with the dock and us paying for it, it definitely needs to be, I mean,
So-
every 5 years, I think the price of the lease should adjust. And then I do like the idea of a list that allows people to roll through it and open it up to different people every so many years.
One of the issues that you're going to find with this is, you know, think of yourself, if you only had a 5-year lease, you're probably not going to spend the $15,000 to build a nice boathouse, because you can't take it with you, or, you know, it'd be very difficult. So normally,
In there, I wasn't saying that we had to have the shorter lease for it. I'm just saying that the price of the lease could be reevaluated every 5 years in it. So 3 times within that, it gives us a chance to keep up with what our costs are, what things we're going to have to deal with, what prices should be charged. We can keep it economical for just normal people, but we can do a longer lease with evaluation points in there too.
that's true. I misunderstood your statement.
It's okay. Sometimes I don't say what I think I say either, so.
Okay, Laura, can I talk again? This is Doreen.
Go right ahead.
I really feel that these people with the boathouses should be paying some kind of personal property taxes. Can we check with the treasurer and see if they are charged personal property tax? Otherwise, it's just given away to the county for nothing, and we need money.
I'll check with the treasurer on that.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, this is county land.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you would do. I mean, let's say we had a county park.
Yeah, and it's county exempt land. I understand that, Clark. I understand that.
you brought in a $200,000 camper that you left on the county land, would you pay personal property taxes on your camper?
No, but you should pay something on the improvements on the top of it, so.
Yeah.
And I
And-
suppose that can be decided in the lease, I would think, in the payment for it.
I would feel, this is Doreen again, my feel is just county take back the land and create your own rentals for these boats and we keep the money.
This is Ron Stender.
Go ahead.
A lot of these people that have the boathouses put a lot of money into them just to keep them standing. They can only do certain amounts of renovations in it. So you're going to have a whole lot of upset individuals if you're going to take their boathouses away and give it to the county. They have a lot of money involved in it.
And
Go
the
ahead.
other, I'm sorry.
Are you finished, Ron?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the other consideration is just legal. Because of Clean Water Act, there are limited options for building certain structures within, these riparian zones. And so the existing structures, they're probably grandfathered in and they're fine, but adding additional structures may run into regulatory barriers.
Yeah, and
It's a
that's
good thing to check out.
Josh, our zoning administrator, has started looking into that because he thought the same thing, which is maybe these are all things that could be down there. Maybe we can't rent out or lease out new spaces on that particular piece of property. So that's an unknown factor at this time. We're just kind of looking for, again, general ideas from the committee as staff continues to look towards enhancing revenue coming back to the county and increasing, in my mind, increasing public access and awareness to this piece of county property.
Exactly.
Do we know how many boathouses are down in that area?
Yeah, there was a picture.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9, 10, 11. And I would say, I don't know, a couple of, I'd say at least 2 or 3 of them probably are falling over and are not usable, but that's just my general impression.
And then if they do fall over, you can't ever build there again on that site. You can't put up a new one. So whatever goes, goes.
Yeah, I don't know that answer, but that's what we're trying to figure out from the shoreline overlay district with city ordinances and trying to figure out what is the possible what is a maximum possible utilization of this piece of property. And so we don't have that answer yet. So.
Yeah, I would think a charge for each one of them and go from there. But I think that we have a pretty good set of ideas going forward. I'd like to see more.
Yep, I think we're
on
good to
that.
go. And this will also be, just from a public policy perspective standpoint, this traditionally has gone through forestry, but I wanted you guys to weigh in, like I said earlier, and we'll probably do a write-up with these ideas also, and then further staff research. The next forestry meeting is actually coming up, I think the first week in February, I think like February 3rd. So we're hoping to have more information by February 3rd for the forestry committee.
Sounds good. Any more on that, anyone? Okay, seeing none, we can move along.
This is, no.
Okay.
This is Mike. Does anyone know if the forestry committee's met with the boat club?
If they met with them?
Yeah.
I don't think they had
when-
at the meeting.
When the lease came up, I basically just directed the Chris Hoffman, the forestry administrator, to go meet with the boat club. But that's about the extent of it. I don't think they've ever come down to the forestry committee or logged in. It will be a remote meeting so that we certainly can look at that.
Well, we're talking about boat club lease here, stuff like that, and no one's talking to to the boat club? You know, what are they willing to bend, or what are they doing? You know, we've got questions here that can't be answered, and certainly the boat club can answer these questions if they're on the call, I'm sure. And probably this should go through the forestry committee before it comes to us. I'm not sure how this all, you know, the pecking order, so to speak.
I think at the last county board meeting, this was brought up, and there was different people brought concerns, and it got forwarded to us as a piece of public property for our purview. And then it seems like the discussion at the meeting, if I remember correct, was that we're gonna kind of cooperate on it and come to some kind of consensus that works out well for the public.
Eventually, this will come back to the county board.
Yeah.
So when we're talking collaboration, I'm thinking that that means that we could or should perhaps be talking to the boat club. You know, what's going on? What are you know, how many units do you have down there? And how is the, you know, who's taking care of the lawn? Who's taking care of the road? All those questions can be answered.
I bet you Chris knows him. He's just not on the call tonight because of this
Okay.
meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, he has talked to them, and he's managed this thing for years. And he just said he's on the city council, and he just said, "Can I go to the city council meeting?" I'm like, "Sure, that's fine."
So, anything else? Okay, then moving on to the county property review.
And so this again goes back to the germane, your charge with managing county properties. In your packet today is a listing of county-owned parcels. The land committee, just for information, they set prices and decide when to sell surplus property or tax deed property and we're going to be moving to an online auction. So that's just a new process for us. And then discussion during this meeting is one person did bring up, should we consider selling the 20-acre property just purchased by the city in the city of Ashland for a government center to be sold to raise cash? And so this is basically all your properties, some of which are obviously forest properties. Some of them are, historical properties we own. Some of them are tax deed properties, which we've taken from tax deeds. This is a map that you can zoom in on county properties. They're highlighted in pink, and you can see there, but this is more, like this land down here is all county forest land, but scattered throughout here, you'll see little parcels here or there that we do own. And we basically work with the land committee to sell these pieces of property. In particular, there are two pieces here that I'm just bringing up. This is the county memorial forest, which is south of town, maybe, 6-8 miles. And then this next piece here is the 20 acres right here in town, just south of the XL building. Down there, this is Binns Field, this is 13. So one county board member had said maybe we should sell this piece of property that's in the industrial park. County bought it in 2017 for around $187,000 with the intention that some future generations might build a new law enforcement center, like a jail or something as we outgrow this one, or a government center, a health and human services center. It was just bought to hold in place. And then this county forest, this memorial forest land, which is made up of, looks like 440s, 160 acres. And that basically was designated during World War II to be a mass burial ground in case we had lots of people we needed to trench bury. So it's not super high value from timber, but it is something that we do manage in the with our regular timber lands. But because you can see it's kind of off the beaten path, from our forest lands, it doesn't gain a great deal of revenue because we have to deploy crews up there to log it. So it's more or less just a review, and then also if you know, again, if you feel we need cash so bad we want to sell this piece of property or this piece of property to raise cash in the short term for the county.
Okay, any input on that?
On that 20 acres, what would we ask for that piece of property?
I have no idea because you bought it in 2017 and I thought it was around 184, 187, somewhere around there. So my gut guess is it'd probably be worth about that.
Okay.
My personal opinion, for what it's my 2 cents, is I think that's a short-term cash, but I think in the long run, I think it was, you know, buying that and maybe you don't use it for 40 years, but it's there, it's in the city limits, you have city sewer, you have city water. If you ever had to rebuild, I mean, say the building that we have right here, you know, burns down, you know, would we ever rebuild it right here on this piece of property, or would we build a, not a multi-story building? We build probably more of a single level or something and spread out a little bit. Those are all decisions. This is kind of a placeholder for future generations long after we're gone, in my mind.
Anyone else with thoughts?
They're not building, they're not making any more land. So
Yeah.
it's my opinion to hold on to that if possible.
Yeah, that's
this
kind
is
of my
on,
thought on it too. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Ron. I agree with Philomena.
Yeah, me too. Mike, Doreen, do you have some input on it?
Laura, my
Go ahead.
computer just did a whammy here, and I lost the rest of the conversation about the boat landing.
Oh,
And I
no.
finally got back on. I'm sorry. So where are we at now? We're on the county property thing, the sale of
Yeah.
properties. Okay. I'm sorry. It took me I don't know what happened. It's just a
Yeah,
but okay. So now we're on the sale of property, right?
yeah. On that last
Okay.
page, where there's some maps with highlighted pieces in it, we were
Yep,
talking
yep,
about
yep.
the 20 acres for the sheriff, you know, that was bought in 2017 for the sheriff's department or
Okay.
law enforcement
Yep, yep,
center,
yep.
et cetera. So
Yep.
did you have
Okay. I
thoughts
got it.
on keeping it or?
Okay. And because I was trying to get my computer back going, I missed the conversation, but okay, I'm on with you.
Okay. Mike, did you have some input?
Well, pretty much the consensus is that let's hold on to it right now. And I concur also with Philomena that you're not making any more land. And of course, the longer we hang on to it, there's going to be more and more restrictions with clean water and clean air and all this kind of stuff. But we'll cross that bridge when it comes, obviously. But for the sake of right now, I would also agree with Philomena and the rest of the crew here by let's keep it in our war chest here. And it's not like we really need that money right now. You know, we're okay, I think.
Yeah. And if we give all our cards out and use them all now, there's nothing down the road too, so.
True enough.
So,
Okay, I
Okay.
missed a lot.
Yep.
Laura, I missed a
Okay.
lot of the conversation, but okay, so it's county-owned property, so it's tax exempt.
Yep,
So if it was sold to some entity out there, there would be some tax money coming into the county from that property.
that's how
Okay.
it goes, yep.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
This is Ron. I have another question.
Sure.
On the 40-acre parcels, are you looking to sell those also?
Not really. I did receive some interest from somebody who wanted to do an industrial compost site, for the whole, Chequamegon Bay area. And, they wanted to know if we had any tax forfeiture land that they could buy. And we really didn't have anything big enough because they're looking for, 20 to 30 acres. And this piece of property here is just, south of town a few miles. They never got back to me in time for this meeting to find out, and they said they were interested in buying land, but we'd have to take a closer look at this to see what would we be willing to split off one of these for a composting site for the Chequamegon Bay area. So I don't have any further updates on that. I thought he was going to kind of come back to us by this meeting, but he didn't.
Okay, thank you.
Kind of,
Anything-
I appreciate the history about that land, Clark. Thanks for digging that up.
Yeah, well,
Kind of dark.
Well, we
It
actually
is.
researched that when the pandemic came about, because at first we weren't sure if we were going to have a fatality rate of 25, 30% where we're going to put everybody. And Lori, my assistant, she brought that up and said, "Yep, this was done back in World War II, basically, because they weren't sure how many people they're going to have to bury there." And I did have during the pandemic, just for your information, I did have the highway commissioner and the forest administrator go down there to find out what would it take if we had to dig trenches, put in a road, take out trees and all those things. I mean, we were somewhat panicking at that time, and luckily we didn't need it. So just to let you know, we do a lot of thinking on the side here. So
Excellent.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
And thank you, Lori, for the history. Anything else?
You're welcome,
Okay.
by the way. That's what happens when you've been here forever.
Oh, you're not forever. You're just fresh and young yet. Okay, let's move on to the department reports. Mick?
He left. No, I'm here.
He did not.
I'm gonna, I think Lieutenant Jones, you still on?
I don't see
Yeah, I'm
Tony
still
on here. Oh, there we go.
He's still there. He's already put in a long day. I'm gonna let him give a little update on our jail medical assisted treatment and how it stands before I give my reports. Tony, go ahead.
Perfect.
So we have been giving Suboxone to those who are prescribed it.
Nice.
And before they get released, I've been trying to locate them some EODA programs. And if they go, they go. I can't make them go, but today we don't have any on, but we've had as many as 4 on Suboxone. We had a few people that got released that went to EODA programs when they left the jail, so that's a positive.
Nice. I do know that Lincoln County has a partnership with the LCO tribe because LCO has a treatment center over on Lake Nebegaman, if I'm correct. Are you guys aware of this? And because they do seem to contract out with other counties and different places to do drug treatment programs.
Is that Koinonia? That's the only one I know that's down that way, but no, we haven't sent anybody away.
Okay.
I really, the jail's budget will not afford that.
Okay.
But I have been speaking with, well, I can't remember names, the director of the wellness center.
Okay.
And once COVID's done, we're going to sit down and figure something out with the
Okay.
MAT program.
All right. Do you mind if I send you the stuff that I researched, Tony, on those programs so you can see? It's
No, sure, that would be great.
cool. Thank you for your work on that.
I don't, and maybe it's too soon to say something, but this week I got an email from someone at the UW-Madison. They are in partnership with George Mason University, and they want to do a study on medication for opiate use disorder in the jails. So I put our name in, but they're looking for like 28 sites. I think that's throughout the whole country, so I'm not sure if we'll be involved in that or not, but I put our name in it. They help you start a program, and then they do a study on how it works for the next year. It's a two-year thing.
Nice.
Oh, I just have a quick update on that. There's a webinar series, a community education series that we sent around a little flyer. I think Clark sent around a little flyer about it starting on Wednesday. And it's the next 4 Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. And I can send that to the committee as well. But there are 3 different doctors who are going to be talking about their work related to treatment for substance use disorders. And a week from Wednesday, there's going to be a doctor who set up the medication-assisted treatment program at Hennepin County Jail. And he'll be able to talk about that. So again, I'll send that around to the committee again. It did go to all county staff, so it's probably in your inbox already.
I think I sent it to all county board members too.
Thanks.
I'm
thanks for
signed
doing
up, but
that.
I got mine from the DA's office. I didn't see anything from anyone else.
Cool. Well, good.
Anything else, Tony?
That's all I have for now. I do want to make a point though. Talking with inmates, the treatment part of it is a must. We had a person that I spoke with that before he came up to jail, he was up to 3 grams of heroin a day. And him using Suboxone was only to supplement his heroin use. So he's able to use 2 grams of heroin a day instead of the 3. So I just want to reiterate that treatment is a must for this program to work.
Excellent point. Anything else from anyone on the committee? Okay, thank you very much, Tony. I appreciate all the work you've done.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. You can come in a half hour late tomorrow.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us too tonight.
Oh, no
really
problem.
appreciate that.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thanks,
You
Tony.
too.
Thanks,
Too.
Tony.
Okay, I'll continue on with my report. I sent some paperwork to Clark earlier today. I did not get it in on a deadline that he asked me to, but I did send some stuff in there. I don't know if he has it ready for the committee or not, but for the year of 2020, we had a total of 372 arrests, 762 citation issued, 863 complaints to investigate, and 7,996 calls for service. So far for the month of January, for the month of December, that was our last meeting date, we had 16 arrests, 63 citations, 68 complaints, and 504 calls for service. Our number of bookings for December was 22. Average facility, average inmates were 34. We have 24 on the monitor, and the daily average for monitor and in custody are 58. And we only had 1 trip for mental health in the month of December, and that was for 348 miles or 6.3 hours. Today's population is 34, 26 boarded out, 26 on a monitor, and it had 0 boarded out. In that packet, and Clark could probably get the copies of that to you, or I can send them to you. I just had a breakdown of the month of December and of the year 2020, as far as number of calls we had, what types of calls, and what type of services that we had provided for that time frame. General information we have: 25 staff have been vaccinated so far, with a half dozen scheduled for this week. The remaining staff have decided they were not going to get the vaccine. Average jail population, like I said, was 34. We were down to 30 for about 2 days last week, and then we shot back up to 34. 2 of our jail staff had tested positive for COVID in December. At this time, they're all well, and all staff's back full time. We're using the Skytron UVC light on a daily basis in the jail, and Clark purchased 2 of the smaller UVC lights. They use one on the admin side and one in the jail side to do the small holding cells as we take people out and put them in the general population. We have 7 people right now in quarantine in the jail. Anytime anybody comes into our facility, a new inmate, they're segregated and at quarantine for at least 7 days before they go into a general population. And if they have any symptoms, they're tested. Tony had purchased, didn't purchase, but he was ordered and was free of charge some quick test, ABID testing. He thought he ordered 2 boxes, but he ordered 2 cases. So we've got a lot of a lot of those. We gave 80 or 2 boxes to Bayfield County and 2 boxes to the Sawyer County Sheriff's Department for their staff for their testing. The rest that we have here on staff is still on, and we talk with our public health and Bad River to see if they're in need of any of that. So if they need it, we got it. We had 1 positive COVID test on our admin side and 1 in patrol, but at this time they're both back to work and everything's all good to go. I'm going to have one of my correctional officers is going to be leaving on paternity soon, leave pretty soon. Hopefully she'll decide to return back to she has her child. We had 2 correctional officers who went to the basic 200-hour jail academy in New Richmond in November. That was Carl Williams and Kim Neibauer. And I'll be sending 2 more jail staff to the academy in Superior beginning February 1st. That's going to be Gary Fox and Brian Gary. They have to have the 200 hours within a year of employment in order to be certified in the jail to work. My chief deputy, Jim Nath, retires officially on February 5th, but he's been on vacation since November 13th. He came back for 4 days, and he's now back in Texas, vacationing out till February 5th. The new chief deputy, I think we talked about this last time, is Brian Zupke. He'll officially start on the 5th, but he's been doing some of the regular duties already in Jim's absence. So here's where it gets a little dicey now. So Brian Zupke, he went to chief deputy. His position's open, detective sergeant. Detective Zach Pierce has been promoted to detective sergeant. He'll start on February 8th as the new detective sergeant. His spot as a detective is open because it's an increase in pay, so it's considered a promotion. And nobody in-house signed up for the position. So we had nobody interested in being a detective. So we have Kyle Kadat. He's the chief of police currently at Red Cliff. Showed his interest in that. We interviewed him and gave him a conditional offer. Once he completes his testing that he needs to have for drug test, physical fitness test, and that he'll be starting as the new detective on February 8th. I tried to recruit him 10 years ago when I was director of the WITC, the academy, and he was pretty sharp, very good recruit. And I offered him a job in the sheriff's department, and he said, "No, Red Cliff sent me to school. I got loyalties to them." And he gave him 10 years, and he's coming for us now. I'm very happy to have him on board. We hired Austin Bowl on October 1st. He just completed his FTO training. I had to fire one of my probationary deputies in December for an off-duty incident. If we need to talk about that, we could do that in a different time in a closed session. Adam Lisk, who is a Red Cliff police officer, applied for our position here, and he's been given a conditional offer. Hopefully he'll start on February 8th. At that point, we will have full staff for the first time in about 10, 12 months for the sheriff's department. However, Mike Anderson is still off on workman's comp, sick leave, vacation until he's planning on retiring on June 21st. So his position's still held, but we won't have everybody doing that job. So we're still actually short on patrol. However, we got a little creative here. We can't find people or applicants. We had the opening for applicants and it was open for months, but nobody applied for it. So Hannah Walsh has always just said that she wanted to become a patrol officer. She's our dispatcher. And Hannah started her academy today down in North Central College, Technical College down in Wausau. So she will be graduating on May 21st and filling Deputy Anderson's position on June 21st. So we're looking forward to that. Patrol started a new schedule on the 1st of January. They're picking by seniority now. Most senior persons make the first pick, and they pick their shifts, and they're on that shift for a year. So we'll have 3 people on day shifts starting at 5, 6, and 7 a.m., and 3 people on night shift starting at 5, 6, and 7 p.m. So we have 24-hour coverage and overlapping shifts. And the sergeant on each shift has a flex shift. His shift starts halfway between the day and night shift, or he fills in shifts as needed if there's a vacant shift during that time. So we're staggering that time, and we're doing that to see how that's gonna work out. All of our deputies, like I said before, they have to have a 24-hour annual recertification by the Department of Justice Training and Standards, and it's been a challenge this year due to COVID. Nobody has in-house training or on live training. We've been doing a lot of online training and trying to do in-house training. They've just opened up WITC, so I've got as many as my deputies I can send to the training in Ashland in April. It's a 24-hour one. So I'll be sending as many there. That saves us on per diem costs because they're local, and it saves us on lodging costs. So we'll try to get as many as we can over there. Got 5 of our supervisory staff that attend the Law Enforcement Management Conference in Superior in April. Unless, again, it's shut down by the COVID. It was planned to attend on January, but it was canceled. And sad to say, but we're still working on the remote 911 communication center. That was supposed to be done in November, but because of the COVID, they're saying, and the vendors and trying to get this, it's still not up and running. It's all in there. Everything's in there. It looks awesome, but it's just not functional yet. they got some of the stuff on. They've got that working, but unfortunately, it's not up and running yet. Everybody's pretty frustrated with the results of that, but they keep telling us, next week, and that's been going on for 3 months now. Luckily, we haven't had anybody in dispatch have COVID where we had to shut our dispatch center down, so we're fortunate in that. And last but not least, our 2 budgeted squad replacements are scheduled to arrive in March. As you know, we're on a 5-year rotation for squad replacements. Every year we get 2 new squads. And the officers are expected to keep those squads for a minimum of 5 years. That's all I have for now. Anybody have any questions of me?
Mick, I went through my emails. Didn't see an email from you today, so but I'm just checking on my phone. I'm not at my computer, so maybe just resend that to me when you have a chance tomorrow.
All right, and I can tell you right now that we were having some issues today with our emails and with our phone system for some reason. But I'm looking at my emails now. I'll send it to you again so you can forward that out to the rest of the committee.
Sounds good.
Okay, this is Supervisor Doreen Hanneman. Mick,
Yes, ma'am.
what did you say about how many of your staff refused to get the vaccine?
I don't have the exact number, but I would say at least I've got 25 that have had it so far. I've got another 6, so that's like 31. So I'm going to say about 19 have said, nah, I'm going to wait to see how this pans out.
Okay. Well, I work at the hospital, and it's not mandatory that we have to get the shots. But I did, and my second booster I'm going to get on Saturday. But us as frontline workers, I feel we should prove to the people that we're not scared of the shot. And, I want to see my grandkids again. That's the main reason I took it. It wasn't not mandatory for me, but it's available to them now. I think they should get it.
You're singing to the choir. I've got my shot. I'm gonna get my second one on February 3rd.
Okay,
I got
good,
grandkids. I want to
good.
live to be
Thank
old
you.
age.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else with any questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much, Mick. That was a very comprehensive report and I appreciate the heck out of it. Is there anything more that you wanted to say?
No, just thank you all for your support and look forward to hopefully getting the training for the deputies. And we'll keep a good open dialogue and make sure that we know what everybody's doing. I'll keep you informed. I'm transparent, be as transparent as I can possibly be.
Was, I know Bill Hagstrom had said that he'd like to cooperate on some of that training and stuff too.
Yep.
Or is it, okay, I figured.
Yeah, we do a
Thank
lot
you
of our
very
training
much.
together. I'm an EVOC instructor. One of my deputies is a certified EVOC instructor. We trained all the PD guys. You know, we didn't charge them for that. They come and do it on board with our EVOC instruction. They've worked with us on our ranges. We shot together on our different ranges that we had for night firing ranges and stuff like that. So we work together well. We work together. We back each other up. So it's good to have that kind of not just camaraderie, but a working relationship, so you know and you trust the people that are out there, that they got your back. So yeah, we work with them together. We're too small not to.
Exactly. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a good night.
This is Doreen again. Thank you, Mick, for all your service for the community.
Thank you, Doreen. Appreciate it.
And I support your training for the crowd control and the domestic violence.
Thank you. That's good to hear. Laura, do you have anything else of me?
That is
Are you gonna need
it.
anything?
No, run away, Mick. Run quick.
Before anybody else
Before
brings
we
it up.
find something.
Thank you,
Have a good
Mick.
night. Thank you.
You
Have a
too.
good night. Bye.
Next up is Miss Dorothy Tank. Thank you for waiting so long, Dorothy.
Oh, not a problem, but I feel like I'm going to disappoint because I don't quite have all of that information like everybody else and like the sheriff just presented. But I did want to, the big thing that I think is kind of on everybody's mind is the financial situation. And the one thing I wanted to bring up is, at least from an emergency management standpoint, I coordinate a lot of different things as far as project grants, and then the overall emergency management directives through grants, and operate obviously on the county's calendar year, state grants on the state fiscal year, and majority of them are on the federal fiscal year. So coming up here right now, the federal fiscal year for 2020 ended on September 30th, and we did all of our financials, got in at the end of October. So now they're taking a fine-tooth comb through all of our financials and making sure our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed with all our directives. We're slowly getting a trickle in of our grant money coming in, and so I'm depositing that. So we've got our Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act, our EPCRA money I deposited. I'm working on, we should be getting a check for the hazard mitigation grant. That project, the check is in the mail, so we'll see another around $21,000 coming in. Closing out the Emergency Management Performance Grant, another $30,000 coming in. So a little bit closing out all of those for 2020. A lot of time was spent in March through December of 2020 doing the priority, and FEMA had set this too, but for the state of Wisconsin, the priority was on PPE, and emergency management was delegated that task and responsibility. And FEMA kind of accommodated and worked with the state and made sure that kind of gave us ways that we could meet all of our directives, with our priority being on PPE, because there was such a shortage on PPE. They were willing to accommodate that. I did want to bring to the attention of this committee that one of the issues regarding personal protective equipment that the state, and I sat on the state's task force for personal protective equipment, is that the state, though it's not mandated yet, but they've been having a discussion and really are trying to push for, because of the pandemic situation and moving forward out of this, that they want to see counties keeping a, for lack of better words, a stockpile of personal protective equipment. Now, right now, when I deal with the PPE requests coming in, it's not just for county departments. It's for the hospital. It's for long-term care facilities. It's for private nonprofits. It's for fire, EMS, law enforcement. It's for a lot of different agencies. And the expectation is that the county would support all those agencies. Though I've been very vocal that I don't know how realistic that will be for all counties to support if they pursue that avenue. Right now, Ashland County does obviously support that effort through the state supply. I maintain our inventory through keeping an inventory of PPE from the state supply. But if the state starts to reduce that and have the expectation of the county to do that, I do not know, one, financially, if we are having that difficulty, how we're going to do that. And secondly, where we're going to store all of that. Third, who's going to be the agency responsible for maintaining that? Because I can tell you as a one-person department, it is not appropriate for emergency management to be doing that. So, but I just wanted to kind of enlighten you that this is something that the state is pushing right now. With all of that in mind, now that it's a new year, 2021, FEMA has come on board and has instructed the state, Wisconsin Emergency Management, that now they are no longer willing to look at providing any type of grace period or any type of reasonable excuse. COVID no longer is a reasonable excuse to not meet any type of your grant deliverables. So even though we are, emergency management is responsible for PPE, I'm now kind of switching, having to switch modes. I'm still doing PPE, but now trying to, and have been working on bringing all my grant deliverables up to the forefront. I was managing them the best I could through March through December of last year, but now they are my priority. All of my project grants, so that we can, hopefully when spring comes, we can hit the pavement running on a lot of the project grants, and then obviously any of the planning deliverables that come through the office. So that's just gives you a little bit of an idea of what I've been working on, and I'm open to any questions.
Okay,
Anyone?
this is
Doreen?
during Supervisor Doreen Hammond. I work at the hospital. I'm in environmental services, which is a big name for housekeeping. I have to go into these rooms when the patients leave, and I have to put all that PPE on. And it takes me and any of my coworkers at least 2 hours to properly clean those rooms. You wipe down every outlet, every cord, every wall, everything in that room. PPE is a very necessary thing. The hospital that I work at, which is MMC, has had it there. There was a while back there, okay, what's going on? Where do I find this stuff? But MMC has provided the equipment, and I have done my job.
Okay. Is there anyone else with any questions for Dorothy?
I just have I have a question. Dorothy, thank you so much for this great presentation. Just to follow up for Clark, and and also for Dorothy, I hear that there is this priority has been set by the state for having a stockpile of PPE at the county level. It doesn't sound like Dorothy's department, a one-person department, has the capacity to manage that. I mean, is this something that the county is considering doing, or do we just not have the capacity to do this?
I
I
don't
was,
know. Oh, Clark, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I wasn't aware that we had this either authority or directive from the state to be a centralized warehouse for PPE. I know we've been doing distributions on a bi-weekly basis, and Dorothy's been doing a great job managing that. So I'm not aware of a new directive.
And it's definitely something that's been in the discussion phase only right now. So I just wanted to make the committee aware of this because I'm not sure where this is going. I'm kind of more aware of it because I sat on the PPE task force representing the Northwest area. And so I kind of had a little bit insight into this, maybe more so than some of the other counties, but it's just something that the state, the Department of Health Services on this committee, they were pretty adamant, and it seemed as though, I guess I have to take their perspective, and this was even from Wisconsin Emergency Management, that the pressure that WEM gets is from the legislators. And they're really pushing, legislators are really pushing because they're hearing from their constituents how difficult PPE is to get. And I do know that we kind of go through cycles. For a long time, it was gowns. We couldn't get gowns. Now gowns are starting to be more plentiful now, and wipes. We couldn't get any type of sanitizing wipes. Now wipes are starting to become a little bit more available. Now we're in a glove crisis. So gloves are a challenge, particularly large gloves. And so we're kind of going through these struggles, and where we're going to be 3 months from now, I don't know, but even 6 months from now. But I just wanted to alert you that, I really don't foresee Ashland County being able to manage this very well, no matter what department takes this on, for multiple reasons. And I don't think Ashland County is alone in this. And even regionally, we've looked at, we as a region, the Northwest region, who's going to take this on? It's quite a debate. So if it comes up in maybe some of the different talk groups or county administrators or other supervisors, that's kind of what's being thrown out there. So it's just kind of an FYI, probably more information coming.
And just to let the committee know, Dorothy and Mick both sit on the cooperators meeting that I host and put together that, as you've heard about before, with the 3 counties and the 2 tribes in this area. And so they sit on that group, as we share information between all these government units around here. So we truly appreciate Dorothy and Mick being part of that group.
Definitely do. Any more questions from Dorothy? Or
I
for
feel like Dorothy is one of our secret weapons.
She is.
I would like to say thank you, Dorothy.
Thank you.
Anything else, Dorothy?
No, like I said, it's my world basically is pretty much catching up on grants, bringing them back, getting them ready to go, and continuing managing PPE.
Yeah, so the wind beneath the wings of everything. So yeah. Thank you very much, Dorothy.
Have a good evening.
You too. And last we have the maintenance stuff from Mark. Is Mark there?
Yep,
I'm
he's in the courtroom.
Hi, Mark.
I'm here, folks. Good evening to everybody. I guess me being the last on the agenda is probably the shortest report of the bunch. I don't have much here. My mother always used to say, no news is good news. Some of the highlights, some of the things when I was trying to put together some sort of a report for you folks. COVID-19 continues to keep us on our toes as far as extra tasks, sanitizing stuff and stuff like this. Just walking around the building, I've started to notice some of the furniture, we're losing some of the varnish and stuff like this off from the like hand sanitizer and disinfectants and stuff like that. We knew this was going to happen. So one of the things that I guess stuck out to me is apparently people are taking the hand washing requirements. They're apparently taking this seriously because our use of hand washing soap in our bathrooms has really gone up. And I guess that's a good thing. We are changing our cartridges considerably more often than we did before the COVID thing started. So apparently lessons are starting to sink in. We are accumulating quite a group of burned out fluorescent tubes, light bulbs, and failed fluorescent ballast from the lighting in our building. Now, this is something that it kind of flies in the face of state law because we're supposed to recycle this stuff on a yearly basis. We don't generate enough to beat the minimum invoice charge from this company that has been taking our tubes for many years. Our last pickup was in October of 2017. So we're going on just a little better than 3 years here, which is in history, this is just, we send a load about every 3 years. So I will call to be included as a stop on the spring. This company sends a route through Ashland, I think in the springtime and in the fall of every year. And they've had some turnover in their staff there too. And I used to get a phone call sometime in April, it's probably sometime in October, do you have enough for a pickup? And they proceed to tell me, well, you know, you're supposed to recycle this stuff every year, but it would cost us more to send a partial shipment than it does to sit on this stuff and wait. So that's what we have been doing for many years. But I will get this stuff taken care of in the spring of 2021, as soon as I can get some information on when they would come through for a pickup and stuff. As far as the price, I don't have information on that because my last price list is from October of 2017, and I'm sure the prices have changed since then. But this is something we need to do. I've done it in the past. It's just some legwork, and we get it taken care of, and then we're good again for a couple of years. So I remember Paul Harvey, if you remember him as a radio personality, just so you don't run out of things to worry about. Our furnace, and indeed our whole heating system, the furnace and the steam piping and the air compressor system that controls the heat in the rooms and stuff. The best thing I can say, and I know I've said this before, we are soldiering on. And I'm reminded of I think it was the captain of the Edmund Fitzgerald that said, we are holding our own. And I pray that it doesn't happen to us with our heating system, what happened to the Edmund Fitzgerald. I need everybody to cross their fingers. We do have some small issues with the heating system. We have some small water leaks and some thermostats that have failed and stuff. We managed to keep things going, but there will be expenses in the future. Whether it's going to be a month in the future or next year or whatever, but this system is showing its age. And Lord knows I try everything under my power and any kind of Mickey Mouse type fixes to try to keep things going. But like I say, the system is definitely showing its age. So I just wanted to say too that I spoke this afternoon with a lady in a business downtown here that their water bill recently jumped from 1 unit of water to 6 units of water. And she asked me for advice on how to check a toilet for a leak. And being that we have 12 toilets in the courthouse, I must have become some font of information about this or something. And I did give the gal some information on how to check toilets for the leak. I will be doing this for the courthouse, the 12 toilets in the courthouse. I usually do it twice a year. So probably about the month of March, we would be due for another check on that sort of a thing. I'm trying to be proactive and trying to prevent the expense. So that's about all I have here. I'm losing my mask. That's about all I have here. I spent probably the better part of the day today shoveling snow and plowing snow from our snowfall over the weekend. My goal is always to try to get the bare concrete on the sidewalks as quickly as I can. It is a time-consuming process, and with salt and stuff like this, it's something you have to kind of fly by the seat of your pants. So this is all ongoing stuff. It's nothing new, and like I say, we're holding our own. So that's all I have here.
Yeah, I would reiterate, this is Clark, I'd reiterate we have two major issues for the county courthouse here. One of which is the boiler, which will need to be replaced at some point. Who knows? $100,000, probably 150. And then the other thing we have is there's an elevator that, I don't know, it's probably about as old as I am, and I'm not a spring. And that's going to need to be replaced, which will be probably about the same amount of money. And so these are issues which, if the elevator fails, it would take 6-8 months probably to order and build and put a new one in which case you're going to have all sorts of circuit court issues with people not having access to the building. In addition to the boiler should be preventatively replaced, because if it were to freeze, if it were to die when it's 20 below, you could have a catastrophic loss of the building, which would be, basically having all the pipes freeze and stuff like that. That would be one of the issues where you might end up eventually abandoning the building if a weekend happened. We do have the maintenance men, thank God, they come in 1 hour in the morning or 1 hour at night, and they take turns on the weekends. So somebody is here just to see if there's a problem. But the boiler and the elevator are going to fail, and we're going to need a number of hundreds of thousands of dollars to repair.
This is Mark again, folks. I hate to be a bearer of bad tidings, but what Clark says is absolutely true. This has been issues that have been coming up for years. This isn't something that just happened recently or anything like that. Equipment is aging. The elevator was put in the early 1960s. The best research I can find on it was 1960 or 1961.
It is the same age as me.
Yeah. And like anything mechanical, you have to replace your car once in a while. You have to replace the furnace in your house once in a while and stuff like that. If I have my numbers correct here, it seems to me in about 2015, I believe it was, Jeff Burrell had a company come in and write us an estimate on replacing the entire heating system in the courthouse, which included the boiler, It included all the steam piping that goes throughout the building. The boiler itself was new in 1978. The steam piping that runs through the rooms and on the attic and in the unexcavated space under the building is original to the building in 1915. So it is well over 100 years old. We've certainly got our money's worth out of it. And that's why I say we take tender, loving care of all this stuff as best that we possibly can. But sometimes, despite your better efforts, that mistakes like this happen. We have no other way to heat the building. Should the boiler fail, we have no other heat source for this building. We would never ever be able to heat it electrically. We would really be in bad shape. And it's something we need to be aware of. I know that money is tight. I had to replace the furnace in my own home here about 2 years ago. But it's, again, under the category of just run out of things to worry about. This is where we stand. And that's why I say I need everybody to keep their fingers crossed.
This is Mike. I'd like to take and throw this out there. If we have an estimate from 2015, that's going to be a 6-year estimate that we have to work with. Perhaps we can take a look at that and maybe even update that so we have an idea of what this is going to cost us. I don't know if Jeff has done anything with that with the replacement, the cost of replacement of the elevator, but Clark may be on the right page or as for 100 plus, because well, that's 3 stories that the elevator's got to go to and stuff. So these are necessary repairs, and we should prepare ourselves for that, I'm sure. Whether we discuss that here or push it to the finance committee, or it needs to be known to the committee members and the board. Thank you.
Yeah,
Excellent
like
points.
said,
I have a question. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just trying to let people know. I'm not trying to be a Chicken Little, the sky is falling here or something. And I've said this to Clark several times before too. My worst nightmare would be to walk in this building at 7 o'clock in the morning or 6:30 in the morning and find that the boiler has catastrophically failed, because our service contract is with a company out of Duluth, and it's a minimum of an hour to get a man here to do something with it. If it's something that I couldn't fix or something like that, it's a minimum of an hour to get a person here. And we've had instances in the past where we've had fellas come overnight to do repairs on the boiler quite a few years ago and stuff like that. But our options are really limited with what we have.
Exactly. Philomena?
Yeah, thank you so much for your presentation and all the care that you are exhibiting in taking care of the building and the grounds. It's very impressive. Clark, I have a question about whether or not the county has looked into any rural development funds. The USDA has quite a bit of funding available for improvement of government facilities, things like that. And I sit on the board of the North Lakes Community Clinic. They've had quite a lot of success in accessing low interest loans for building improvement and other kinds of things. Who is the COO is he's here in Ashland. Why can't I think of his name? Anyway, I think there's some resources that we might look into to make these improvements. I mean, especially considering the essential quality of these types of, the boiler and the elevator, really, really important.
Yeah, because I've given some thought to the boiler. I'm not a novice in this issue. So my backup plan, basically, if the boiler fails, is we basically would just vacate the building. And then we would basically bring in 3, probably 250,000 BTU construction heaters that we use to thaw out the ground when we're building commercial buildings. And we just put one on each floor. And that would probably maintain the building temperature to keep the building from freezing. The problem is you can't be in the building because it has, the CO is too big. So you would have to vacate the building while you worked on that. But that's kind of my emergency backup plan if it does fail.
Interesting. Anybody else have questions for Mark? Mark, I thank you very much for all the time and the details that you notice inside taking care of the people's building there. We really appreciate all that you do. And I appreciate you waiting till all the way to the tippy top end of our meeting here to give that report.
Okay, thanks, folks. Stay warm.
You too.
Laura, this is Doreen.
Yep.
I would like to respect Mark Miller with his maintenance report. It was awesome.
Excellent. It is.
It is, and it is what it is. And if there's no money to do anything, we can't do anything. But just tell them to keep the toilet paper in stock. Okay, LOL. LOL.
So good, folks.
Under next meeting date, I do have, because as I've started chairing this committee, we moved it to 5 o'clock so it was more accessible to people. I also wanted to give us a little bit of a structure so that way we had regularly scheduled meetings to handle things like this and get our reports, and then we can have, if we need something in between, we can do it. But what I'm looking at is for every January, having the last quarter review and the previous year's issues. Then in May, having first quarter review, August, second quarter.
May, August.
You know,
Okay.
just a sec. And then in that second quarter review, I have a duplicate on here. So I'll have to get you out the schedule, but just after the quarter ends, every time having a meeting, and then, but January, May, August, like I said, I duplicated it on here, and then.
May, August. Every quarter would be like September.
Yeah, so, well, and in August, we have to start looking at the budgets for each one of these departments. And then our November would be sometime, if we can get back to normal things, is doing the annual inspection for the sheriff's department and prepping for the next year.
Yeah.
So we'll have a static 5 meetings for sure. So our next meeting that is scheduled would be our next quarterly one, would be the last Monday in May, because Mondays is when we picked.
Okay.
And
I'll request that date off.
there we go. And so that would be May 31st. And then if we need something in between, we can call them, but I feel.
May 31st, we're closed.
Oh, well then we're not
Oh,
having it
that's
then.
gotta be like Memorial Day, right?
Correct.
Memorial Day. So
Okay.
And I'm not coming to work.
Okay. So then what's
Well.
the next thing, Laura?
So
Could we hold it on the next day? June 1st?
I don't have a calendar in front of me.
June 1st is a Tuesday.
That'll work.
So, and we will be open, Lori?
God willing, yes.
Okay. You know, with all the heating and such, but we should
Not
be
blowing
good
in
to
the
good
sun
heating
zone,
stuff.
whatever. Yeah.
So our next scheduled meeting is June 1st then.
June 1st. That works. I'll request it off.
Okay. Cliff,
Time
did you have
to
anything
take
else?
Oh, you know. Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Are we on? Laura, are you
Okay.
on with me?
I am. Doreen was the first and Philomena was the second to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Bye.
Thank you very much, guys. You have a great day.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.